And I want you to find yourself to be sitting on your cushion, right, your bolster, and take an upright pattern. I'll be on the side appearing to you, but you might find it's as easy to follow as could be, since we'll be doing so much symmetry in the beginning. So you're going to have your blocks below your legs. You want to have the blocks at the right amount of height. And we're doing this preparation today so that when we lie back, you're able to feel maybe a little more inner lift. That's my hope for you. So the hopes are in the details here, okay? So feel where the feet touch, noticing if your feet kind of slant, they have a little bit of a slant open, they splay. And then set a sandbag across the footing. And so you're going to place the sand so it's closer to the ankle piece, the lower leg bones. And then grasp your belt and hold it wide, facing to your legs, open the chest, and let your eyes center, closing from top to bottom. And when you feel that position of holding your belt, I want you to access the chest muscles quite vigorously here. So you'll feel your arms reach back and the shoulders center behind you. And then as you press down through your seated bones, right, you're trying to feel like you have a wide seat. I want you to take a few more moments right here, opening the chest. Super simple, but essential for your shoulders moving and strengthening. So think of the factor of when you're using your muscles, you're moving your bones into a new platform of reality of circulation. So feel breathing, exhaling, and then we'll move our belt back, just drop it behind you, easy as to be. And then as you move your stand, we're going to send the right leg so it extends forwards, move the block to the side, let the left leg stay in the same opening position so the knee is out and the foot is touching below the right knee, okay? You could have a sandbag on the left thigh for the first few seconds here. You might as well because it's there. And then as you grab your belt again, you're going to reach it forward and have a little bit of fun with it. See if you can reach it over the foot so as you pull with both hands equally, both arms, upper arm muscles, with equal pull. You're going to reach forwards. And as you lean into it, move the belt so it's as close to the top of the foot, the ball, the arch. Where does it feel accessible into your calves? So as you pull, you're going to practice moving from seated upright to forward motion. So a little bit of a forward tilt. Take the hands farther down on the belt so the arms are straight. And then pull, and feeling that awareness cool through the calf. And feel when you lean forward, the sensation in the back of the right leg. Okay, now if the head is tilted up for looking, which is what happens with the brain stem here, I want you to feel a little bit of a swoop down. So brain forward. Now slide the hands back on the belt. Remember, this is all preparatory work for our kind of beginning stage. So we're in the prep. You're going to move your belt off your foot and then sand away. Cross the left leg over the right. And then move a block, or maybe you will use just your blankets, but you're going to hook the right elbow to that left outer leg. So the left leg is crossed over your right leg. And you're going to simply reach back to a blanket set, or if you prefer something higher, you could add your block on top. But think about the practice is you want to follow some of the outline, but also find what works for your body. Since we're all in our own space, some of the patterns are accessible and some are not as much, depending on your body's mood. So feel when you're pushing into that left leg right here, we're enacting the circulation in the core body. So strengthening, toning through the core, but toning the organs. So feel if you can get a little bit of turn from the guts, right? We use our upper body to kind of stimulate the rotation, but feel when you inhale, like your belly really fills up. And then as you exhale, twist, feel an enacting pattern of the arm and the torso. Should feel very strange to try to get the stomach muscles to do the turn. And then we'll simply come back forward. And we'll keep it so easy. We're going to stretch the left leg forward, bend the right knee, place the block under the right thigh. I'm going to have my block up at the mid-height, so it's pretty easy. And then I have my sand on the right thigh. Getting your belt, reaching it for that left foot. Another way you can get your foot is to bend the knee and then scoop up the foot. And then feeling when you have the arms tone holding the belt, when you push out with the left leg, feel the arm muscles, feel the spine up, pull. Let your eyes close so that you can center on the experience of alignment in the center of the body, in the pieces of reaching forward. So feel what you have to engage, to lean forward and then walk the hands a little farther down the belt. And keep in mind, this is all purely individual, customized practice. So that's kind of in some way the beauty of doing the practice this way is you'll take what works for you and sort it out. So as you lean front, feel through the back lines of the left leg. Pull, lengthen, reach out of the side of the body, not just the spine. And then as you loosen up your pull, you're going to lift up the belt, take it aside, and go right into this right leg cross over the left leg. Okay? And then play with how we're moving forward out of our back muscles. They may be stiff in the morning, so understand that there is some correlation right now with understanding it's morning time, maybe late morning for everybody here. And when we twist to the right, we're going to try to work on that low back sheath, the thoracolumbar chamber here, low back, a little bit into the mid-spine. And then right hand behind you on the blanket or a block. And then hook the left elbow outside the right leg and go. Go twisting. The left foot might twist with you, right? The left foot sometimes will go in a direction in this position. So feel if you want to hug your right leg in closer, if you want to slide it down. Yeah, feel the different options. And then when you're in rotation, yeah, relate to your belly arrangements here. Is it fighting you and trying to get back to where it was? Or can you stay with the reality of using the left arm, the left side of your back, your shoulder blades, to support that relationship of engaging the core, stabilizing in the middle? Give it a try. I'm facing away, but I want to keep coming back so you can hear me a little bit better. So turn, breathe. Now, as you release the pressure with the left arm, come back and center. Okay, take a block. You're going to sit on the block. So uncross the legs, sit forward on the block. And then what we'll do is we'll lie back and our arms will be between the bolster and the blankets. And you likely have some props around you. So let's first get here. Okay. Now, what I would like us to try today with this, relating to what I'm studying, with this strengthening through the pelvic floor, groins, feeling that inner lift so there's less prolapse. So let's take a block, place it center of the thighs, and scoot your feet closer in towards your seat and lower back onto your blankets. First things, we're going to stay without a sandbag for a few moments here. So feel where your hands are maybe onto the ribs and notice if you can make a little bit more of a complete press of your back into the props. So kind of inch around a little side to side and work with enacting that ability to center your back. So if there's a little bit of tugging in your lower back, like tightening, I want you to squeeze the block and scoot the feet any farther forward that you need to feel a lot of tone in your buttocks. Think of buttocks are active here, right? Because you're squeezing the block. Okay, a few more moments. We're going to grab our belt. We're going to stay with the block center of the legs. And then with the hold on the belt, I'm going to double up my belt so it's a little thicker feeling for my arms. It's like another arm. Okay. All right, so grab my belt arm, reach it towards the ceiling, squeeze the block, and then as you move your arms overhead, I want you to feel the breath center into the rib cage. Okay, try to stay strong with this block awareness between the thighs and that pressing in. It may seem like it's not a stretch, which is interesting, but it is for your psoas, right? So if you think of when you push in, the abdominal muscles, right, have to elongate a little bit here for you to contract. So pull on the belt, let the arms feel like they're halfway resting and halfway engaging. Be generous with your width of your belt. Experience a breath, like a real breath. It's only made for you. Your breath is probably unique, right, to anyone else's, how lengthy it is, how it coats the inside of the body. So feel it moving into the nose. And then relax on the out breath. Okay, at the same time, you're monitoring this leg experience. So let's take about another 15 seconds squeezing the block. Belly moves with the breath. And then let's let go of the belt. And I want you to move the block aside, drop it, and then get a sandbag and layer that on the top of your thighs and straighten the legs down. Okay, keep it super simple here. If you happen to have more sand, you can add more, but I like it if you have it so it's at the hips, not the ribs right now. Okay, so it might be touching, they're next to each other versus stacked. So you have more experience of the legs. Now, if we can imagine we have a half-size block between our feet, okay? So I want you to bring the feet so they have an energy of moving towards each other. They don't have to cross over each other like this, but I want you to have an energy that they're not flopping out, okay? So interlace the fingers and push the hands inside out towards the sky. And then as you flow the arms back, try to let the flow be slow, slow flow. And at some point, the hands are similar in engagement as the feet. Yeah, so be curious about it. Now, feeling as the arms start to change the sensation and texture of the back muscles, stretch the muscles between the ribs. Try to keep that there is expansion of the rib cage, elongating of the core chamber, right? And we're not quite to the intercostals yet. We're still working in that core chamber. So even though the intercostals are the muscles between each rib, they're working right now, but we're still focusing on the front line of awareness towards the throat. Relax your throat. Swallow is a good way to start. Okay, so let's let go of the grip with the hands, open out the arms, and as you reach down for the sand, you're going to slide that off, and lucky for us, we're going to find our block, slide the feet in, knees bending, pointing up, and then move your right knee in towards your center. It may be near the block. Now I want you to go ahead and bring that block to that right leg so it's not on top of the kneecap, but right at the front of the thigh. And push a little bit into the leg with the hands on the block. The block is on its wide setting. And feel that response in your back. So I want you to stay with the stomach muscles co-contracting. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing probably 30% of my ability right now, but at the same time I'm pushing back into the block with my leg muscles. This is core strength. Okay, now holding the block on the sides, reach it overhead and stretch your right leg straight down. Reach through the right heel. Try to really go for that length. Arms overhead, holding the block wide, reach through the right heel. Okay, now as you bring the right foot back in, switch sides, left knee up, lock to the left thigh, push, resist. You'll likely feel your stomach contracting really from the navel center, kind of belly button and lower, okay? And that's kind of mystery space in the body to strengthen, and you feel good when it's sore. It's like, oh, I'm doing something. And it's in the digestive lanes, right? In the vital organs. So try to feel where the leg pushes into the block. Keep that resistance real. I think it's real. Hold the block, bring the arms overhead, holding the block, left leg straight down. We're pros at this now. Feel where your heel reaches and feel where your right knee is in center. Now, where the arms are moving back, if you get a little floppy with your direction and you're sort of tossing the energy back overhead and then you rest, we'll start to get a little more restorative soon. But right now, engaging the core. So hover the arms behind you so they're not flopping back with the block, but you have some integration of the bones and the muscles, stretching the bones back. Okay, slide the left foot in, and then we'll move the block straight over the chest. Inhale, and exhale back overhead. Okay, lower the block, drop it behind you. Okay, and then as you're going to lift up your seat, and then grab the block that's under that, and place it between the knees, or wherever it grabs onto the center of the legs. And then as you reach back, you're going to start to come forward. I want you to relate here into the core. So now that we've gone from this reclining core, we go to seated core. So slide the feet forwards, reach your arms beside your legs, squeeze to come up. Take this a few times. Lean back so you're actually kind of casually centering on your bolster. Squeeze to come forwards. Forward is the actual cue, huh? So take one more lean back, breathe in, exhale, coming forwards. Okay, move the block, and let's start to go into our left hip down side sage. Okay, so let's take the pose. I want you to feel where your reality here is where your lane of travel is for all your props. So you have your bolster, your blankets, a block, and you'll need to access maybe a ball for the inside of the right leg and a sandbag. Okay, so this block's a little far out. So what I'm going to do is create this lane of travel for my side, and then after the work we've done, this is where we can basically start processing it. So move your sand up into your side. Feel like it's on the ribs, and it's catching into the rib cage. If you have multiple sandbags, you might put one on your hip and then lift one higher. But get your brain and your neck muscles to a state of relaxing. Blanket could be low. You could move it up. And you'll feel likely that if your head has a mild amount of pushing into the blanket, it's almost as if it's a little more calming. Okay, it's interesting. It's like we don't want to hover the normal attention in our neck. Attention, but the word tension is part of it. Huh? So when we're out of tension and looking around just to do things, our neck is likely going to have some challenges as a result. So it's usually postural stuff, right? Or habits and anxiety that brings on some of that neck stuff. So try to work here with feeling what's helpful for you. So for me right now, I notice this arm overhead is causing a little bit of extra pull in my neck. So I might put it on my side. I might reach it open and just let it be in air. But be willing to let your head, your neck, relax. And explore a few moments of where the right arm could be helpful for you. And maybe overhead is really good. Maybe you bring the block up a little bit higher. Kind of play with the zone of intensity. The higher it goes, it might be a little more calming for your upper shoulder. And relax the wave of looking through the lens of the eyes, right? Let your eyes rest. And let your head relax. Receive the breath. Inhale fully. Try to feel the costal breathing, the sides. And exhale, letting go. The one mystery area for most of us on this pose is pelvic floor that may have completely slipped from your concentration since we did so much with it earlier. So let that zone kind of have its processing phase right now. You're on the side. You have a few more moments here. Find where your right arm is comfortable, where your head is in a happy, relaxed place. Let the sides move with the breath. Now, when we shift, we first move our sand, and then we move the right leg closer. And I want you to feel the hinging at the front of the right thigh, the hip hinge, like so. When I slide the leg back and then I bring it towards my left leg, there's a bit of this hip work going on, right? You're working on the mobility of the joint. Okay, so I want you to let that right leg slide over to the left and then roll into, not quite a ball, but roll down to come up, roll in to come up, and then turn your bolster up to the blankets, pivot, so it's vertical behind you, straight back. And then taking your belt and your blocks in the front. So you take your props, start to get them together so that you have a proper setup for Supta Baddha Konasana. Okay. So we'll sit in front of our bolster with the sacrum quite snug, tucked up to the edge. Okay, we're back to the shape. Okay, it's a good shape. It's a good shape for opening the hips, for opening up the belly, for circulation to the organs. So we'll use the shape here as we put our blocks under our legs. Knees are open, feet are together. And then taking your belt and buckle up. Make a big loop. All right, so let's get busy with that. We got our belt, we're buckling up so we have a big loop. And then make sure that that loop, that's a little too ambitious there. Okay, it's about the length of your leg, huh? I don't know how far that is. So I'll take the belt buckled up in a loop, so it's already hooked together, over my head, around my lower back. And then as you connect it to your feet over the tops of them, tighten the belt down when you feel it at the very lowest part of your back. So it feels like it's kind of up along the, right where the buttocks, almost squishes them together in the back, almost like pulls them in and then opens up the hips. So as I put my body to reclining mode, I get the recliner mode going here. All right. The difference in this class is that you have to get back up with your core, huh? So take a sandbag and place it across the upper ribs. Well, kind of sort of upper. It's really your heart plate area. Right? So below the sternum, which is right where the ribs intersect. So I want you to feel it in that space where you can feel and palpate that with your sand. Yeah. And each time you arrive at this one, it's going to feel a difference in your lower back. So if my knees are higher, it's a little bit easier for my ribs to settle into the sand. Actually, the sand is still in the ribs, huh? Okay, get everything situated so you can pose. Okay, if the sand doesn't feel right for you, remember you can move it higher. If it doesn't hurt your chest, it's fine. It's nice to stretch out your chest anyhow, and the sand is a good amount of weight to do that. So if you can get your sandbag higher, and when you work on chest openers, you feel tight in your chest when you pull the belt, you're just restricted. And it hurts your neck sometimes, and use this pose to help that value of releasing the chest and the neck. So head relaxing down, and let your arms release. Close your eyes from top to bottom. Feel the face relaxing. And the hands calm. Regulate your breath. And feel where this experience is now landing in the symmetrical focus in the ribs. Okay, so it might seem rather challenging to get a long in-breath. So study the length of your intake. Try to go for one more count, unless it's bothersome in your brain, like you feel like it's anxiety producing, then go to the comfort. And then as you exhale, empty the lungs. Steady for a few moments the breath sweeping your lungs. So think of the direction it moves right now. And how it sweeps in. And you exhale it out. Empty the lungs. So you can bring fresh back into the body. Try to sweep out any stagnation, so it's not just a chemical thing, it's also a mental experience, which is probably related to the chemistry in the body too, but use that impulse and strength you can with the study of your breath and your pose to influence the body in transformation, which you want to think of your practice as an opportunity to release, I guess you could say unnecessary tensions, but are they necessary? So to release, basically release. Feel your feet, maybe they kind of wrestle together, your toes, maybe you can get them to communicate a little bit, kind of nudge and rub against each other. It's kind of fun to work with that. They don't get to communicate that often, like your hands get to touch. So feel your feet really together, connecting. And once the back has some release time in this pose, it's going to be a lot of releasing ahead. So we'll just go in layers. So what we'll do is we'll move our sand aside. We're going to take a buttock stretch right now, a glute stretch. So you're going to unbuckle the belt. Where is that buckle? Try to get rid of the belt connection around the legs. And then as you move your knees to point up, so simple. I'm going to bring the right foot up, cross it over to the left knee, and then place a ball or a block besides the upper part of your left thigh and tilt into that block. And not block, sorry, for some of you it'll be block, but a ball. Now, if you push into it and it's a ball, one of these grippy massage balls, I want you to get it really attached to your skin, so you're almost kind of shoving it into the very upper outer root of your thigh, and you're gonna squish the ball, or better yet, smush the ball. Hold on to the right knee and give a little bit of a pull. Yeah, feel through the right buttock. Really try to experience the connection into your right glutes, the buttock muscles. And the force of the hold isn't required to make that uncomfortable, but I want you to stay engaged with that. So do a consistent reading on that pull with the left hand. See if you can feel almost it hardens into the muscles. And in some interesting way, it's muscular, right? But it's not necessarily tightening your shoulder, your neck, but it's engaging, right? You're embodying that left arm. And now, scan how you set this one up. If it feels like a pretty good setup, you want to replicate this on the other side. So when you come back in center and uncross the right foot down, you kick up the left foot, cross it over to the right, and bring your ball or block over to the upper right external thigh, and then tilt your weight into it. So if your ball is not jammed up enough into that glute, into the skin, you are likely not going to get much relief. So get it in there, and then hold on to the left knee, and get a nice little bit of a direct relationship to your hip. Relate to these parts of your body that can sometimes be growling at you if you don't take care of them. And hips are so big for the back. So, right, when I did that workshop yesterday, it really was about hip work, but it was for back care. So that's what we're going to focus a bit on today. So that hip focus, those layers of muscles. And when you're crossing over with that left leg, can you feel when you pull with the right hand? Can you try that? You're going to pull and experience the hip. And not that it's loosening up yet. It might take a whole series of poses coming up, but
Stay with the energy and the breath. And now feel how you're pulling with your right hand. And then when you let go, I want you to start to move this left leg. So we're gonna just keep linking up a series of poses. So we're gonna go to side sage with the right hip down to return the other way. So as you uncross your left leg, feel how the knees swivel in, move the ball, turn to your right. Feel when you rotate, the bolster will need to be shifted. So I'm gonna kind of lean and move the ball to my left inner leg. I might have to move it again actually, but I'll first turn so that I'm facing away from you. I'm sorry, but I want you to notice that you're turning to the other side. Your bolster switches across to horizontal. You're gonna maybe have a block overhead, right? Okay. And then tuck in your blanket so that your head can relax to them. Okay, so this is the gist of it. Now, put that sand on your side. Really try to get the sand support so it's in the rib chamber. Okay, so try to get it up there. And if it feels better on your hip from the last pose, you want to get there because we did the left hip most recent. You're certainly welcome to access side sage via hip work too. Okay, so do what feels best for you. Remember, optimize your practice for yourself. Okay, so when we lengthen that left arm, we can have hip or ribs. I would put a ball on the inside of the left leg or a block if I was practicing for a future healthy knee. Okay, so my left arm stretches over. Now you choose, is it going to be a block under your hand? Is it going to be your arm on the side? Are you going to turn your head so the right side of your head is on the blanket? Okay, situate your side so you're feeling the sensations all the way from your lower left rib cage up into the mass of the ribs, and then into kind of this attachment from the collarbone, right, all the way back towards the scapula. I mean, it's a really interesting, chamber, right? The rib chamber goes all the way around, right? So you have that whole support for your lungs that are housed inside your lungs, your heart. It's all these protective guarded areas. So feel the breath move between the ribs spatially. Inhale, fill the rib cage. Exhale, empty, and feel that there's a responsiveness in your structure from both breath directions, right? The intake and the out breath. Give it a few more moments. Now, as the arm goes back, your sand shifts off. We're going to move to sit up on the bolster. So I want you to come around to sitting up on top, placing your seat right in the center, and then as far as all your props, you might have to actually squirm around a little bit here. But move your blanket, top blanket off. So that is besides you, one blanket behind you. And then we're going to roll onto our back. Okay, so your pelvis is center on the bolster. As you descend back, now you have a bolster across your back of your pelvis, not just your ribs like we did before. So what might be useful for most of us in this pattern is to move back, and as the knees kick up, In some ways, it's kind of a double kick up with your knees. You're going to situate yourself so you're all good with it. You've got your knees bending, and you're going to add a block between, okay? So let's see, a block is probably better than a ball in this one. You could use either, though, if you want to sample around your props. I highly encourage you to explore, especially when we're focusing on this pelvic floor toning, right? Sometimes having that responsive structure so you could squeeze and release, you know, allows you to access a deeper core track. But this is an object that is a little more defined, so it might be helpful. Open the arms out to a T. I want you to lift up your leg pattern. Now, I can't see everybody's leg pattern at all, but what I want you to focus on is that the hip to the knee is about 90 degrees, okay? And the feet are forward of that at that right angle. But when you're squeezing into the object between, I want you to focus on the tailbone resting down. It's kind of interesting if you're actually engaging your core. So you're going to squeeze into the object, and then you're going to lean over to the left to start. Your feet will droop together, right? They're going to come together. And it's okay if your heels move towards your rear. You kind of squeeze just a little bit. Okay, now squeeze the block as if you have a actual resistance pattern. Come back through the center and then go to the right and take it easy. Just go slow. Nothing to prove. What we're all working on is releasing, releasing, releasing. So think of all the tangles right through the back body. I'm trying to tame the tangles in the back. And then come back through the center. First side, second time. Knees open. Now, chest is open. Head is likely in the center. Knees come back in the center and over to the right. Yeah, feel the moments of the waist turning, but the chest is open. So you're not rolling everything over to the right. Now with an in-breath and an out-breath, knees in center. I want you to take your feet forward, still have the block between, and squeeze it. Okay, so feel when you're pushing in. If you chose the ball, you can use that as well, it's fine. I want you to feel the legs pushing into the object. Okay, now try here. You're in bridge pose. You're already set up completely for bridge. Surprisingly, you've already made it. Now, I want you to let your arms still be open. So it's almost a passive arm phase. You can't have them besides your hips right now, like the bridge pose we would do in that activation. So you're left with just leg work, right? Lots of it. So push into your feet. I want you to lift up your hips, but stay on the bolster completely. You're still on that. The only thing that's different is if you were to slide your hand down to where your buttocks are, you can feel the massive tone that's created, like a lot of tone. You're trying to fire up into your buttock muscles. So those are engaged. They may not be lifting a lot off the bolster, but I want you to engage them so that these front thighs are straightened, right? So you're opening up the front of the hip. Okay. Now try to keep the block and stretch the legs forwards. Try to keep that block between. Squeeze into it. Flex your feet, open up through the belly. Tummy time. Now slide the feet in and lift up the knees, the feet, the knees, all of it, and then move the block away and let's come into standing feet. Okay. And this is just completely exciting. Okay. Let's take it. Now, it's kind of nice to go from these patterns that are just different each week. Just they change a little bit from time to time. And notice, take note, you know, the next day, if you can feel some differences in your core. So when you take sandy feet are up. This is a little different than legs up the wall because sometimes doing legs up the wall without sand is a really wise idea, right? You're really working on that. It varies for the weight in the pelvis. You're using the wall to properly drain out. So right now we have a little bit of a faster shoot of drainage through the groins. So anything we can do to supply that movement of lymph. So feel the flexing. Feel that connectivity through the muscles of the back of the legs. Maybe your calves are integrated here. Really flex. Toes are towards you. Now we'll be here for about another 30 seconds. And if your feet are getting fatigued, like with the ankle thread, if that's tiring, you certainly would go away from that, forcing the flex, and just let the feet be holding onto the sand. Just let them be kind of neutral. Let your eyes center back. Okay, now as we bend through the knees, feel the back of the legs, maybe pretty evenly blended with tone, but kind of a nice balancing shape. Okay. So what we'll do is we're going to move our sand aside. Now, if it seems like here you are, you want to use your hands to move that right now, for whatever reason, you can use hands or drop it overhead. And then linger here for a moment, hold the back of the right thigh and let the left leg straighten. You know, let the foot relax on both of the legs. Then you don't have to monitor the feet. You can let the work happen for the top of the left thigh. Really let that be. Switch legs, left knee bends, right leg down. Can you feel a difference from one quad, the top of the thigh, one tied to the next? Can you feel the differences in the openness? And now try a little bit of moving the back body to length, which could be described for some people as moving the tailbone under, but we're going to work with feeling that interaction of the left leg drawing in, the right leg down. And then when you slide the right foot in this time, pick up the right leg and then let go of them and hold onto your bolster and start to wiggle a little side to side and move your bolster. Wiggle your bolster forward so it's right next to your tush. And then once you get there, I want you to roll your feet on top. And then get a feel here. So when my feet are to the bolster, I'm going to push down. And now this bridge pose comes to life. Lift your hips up. Feel the front of the thighs lengthen. Feel the circulation through the hips. Maybe you don't feel it in the hips quite yet, but it's getting the awareness in the front of the thigh lids. Slide your blanket away if you happen to have one behind you. You can add it back very soon. But this way our neck, our whole cervical spinal awareness isn't pushing the flexion. It's really important that your neck is safe. So use the pose to regenerate along the neck. So as my arms are besides me, let's lower down, take a rest here. So recover. So feel your tailbone, noticing that kind of things start from the tailbone oftentimes. Okay, tails are important. All right, so the palms are openish. Okay, so get a feel here with the palms open. And then as you push down into your feet, now my bolster's too close. I'm push a little forward so I can actually get a little lift off with my hamstrings. So push, lift, 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 notice, and then as you lower down your spine, massage as long through the spine as you can. Inhale, lift, bring your arms overhead. Reach. Exhale, spine down, arms go with you. Back, forward, besides your hips. Alternate and feel that the scoop not only comes from the tail, but all the way up the awareness through the back. Okay, one more time. Lower down, we're gonna go one more. Now this time, see if you can use your hand support, okay? So when you actually put your hands on the front of the thighs, you're going to push with your hands first, then lift the hips second, and keep lifting. Hands lower down below. Okay, if you're lucky enough to find your belt, you'll get it and come back into it. Get your belt and hold it so that when you're holding your belt, your chest is opening. Okay, so I have my belt underneath me, my hips are up in bridge pose, and I'm holding on my belt, and I'm working with my shoulders back and down. Yeah, try to do the necessary work to open the chest. Now, as you lower down your spine, you can let go of the belt, but I want you to take your hands and sit on them. So your hands are under your buttocks, your elbows are out. It's a little interesting on your wrists. Okay. Actually, let's do this with our blanket under our head. So slide your blanket in so it's under your head. And keep with the programming here. All right, so keep the blanket underneath your head for right now. Okay, and then you're going to bring your hands back underneath your buttocks and then lift up your legs straight up to 90 degrees. Tricky one to figure out. If you can't see yourself on your screen, which is one way you can do practice, some of you might be able to see your images too, so you can see a mirror of your posture. A little piece of it on your screen, you might be able to do that. But when you put your feet together, I want you to move them in. Like imagine you have your belt around the top of your thighs. You could do that, you could belt it up. Now we're gonna lower the feet forward, and I want you to go from that 90 to 60 degree. You could go a little lower, like let's say 40, you could go 30, you could keep going, but I want you to go until you still feel comfortable truly in your back. Not a lot of flinching. Maybe the stomach is arguing with you that it would be better to go on vacation from this time. But come back up with the legs, hip hinge, and then back forward. I want you to do about 5 more of these so we have at least 6. And if your legs flip back too far, remember you're kind of losing the point of it. So you want them more forward than they going back to your chest. Yeah, this is that core pelvic floor. Okay, now last time I'm thinking-ish, that is what is our count, but you will be the decider. Okay, now bring the knees in and we'll slide the hands out and hug them. Hug some knees. Hug yours. Now, as you move your knees a little side to side, you're going to lower your feet to your bolster and let the knees go side to side, windshield. Yeah, give it a few moments. Really let the connectivity of your back into your hips and then up into your ribs. It's all so interconnected here. Every piece, especially the pieces that seem to be having challenges sometimes. So you might let your head nod side to side, nestled into your blankie. Windshield wiper side to side. Feet are wide enough on the bolster. That's really important here. That's critical. Not closed in together. And then when you move in center, you're going to take the blocks. If you have room on the right side of your mat, what I'm going to ask you to do is kick your bolster over to that side, off of the mat, right on the side yard. Yeah, and if you have a ball, a spare, one of those grippy balls, I want you to have that for this pose, okay? So you're gonna lower onto your back, you're gonna be on that space, maybe on your extra top, okay? We're propular, lots of props. All right, so right leg is down, straight-ish, left leg is crossing over. Okay, now if you lean over and you feel like a blanket on top of the bolster would be more accessible for you to add it. And then add the ball, or if you don't have one, don't worry about it. But that ball goes to the sacrum, that dent, okay? And then you can add your sand to your exterior left thigh. I think it's a good idea. It's not required that you have the sand right on your hip bone, but you might like it to help the idea of elongating your side. Just the idea of the leg elongating over to reach out of the lower back. Okay. Kind of visualize that your back muscles are really trying to spread and open and release. So feel when the left arm is out now and the elbow is softening. Your head rolls left perhaps. And as you enjoy breathing, which might kind of go against your concept of just being with the breath, but enjoy breathing. Cross over the leg, how it works for you is fine. And let the eyes center on the attention of breath. Your right hand can be anywhere. Shoulders kind of need a reminder to move back and down. And that should help you reenact this motion of the ribs opening. That's always where we want to go with the ribs. In fact, if you have back issues, back pains, just try some really basic chest openers. Lie back on a bolster, try to work with the chest opening and see if that helps your back. It's usually those muscles are short or they're tightening and then your back is overcompensating. So try these options. They usually relieve me and I'm always surprised that something that simple can be helpful, especially since it's the opposite area that is hurtful. Opposites attract. Okay, feel where the crossover is with your left leg and I want you to spend a few more moments here. If the left leg is high-ish on that side, crossed over, let's keep the same theme, but we're gonna get our belt. Okay, I want you to get your belt and then slide the sand off the left thigh. It's not too big of a difference here. It's the same category of musculature in your hip and your back that we're caring for, okay? So having this feeling of the leg crossing over is a good start. So I'm going to move any object from the sacrum, okay? And then when I bend the left knee, okay, feel when you hold onto your knee with your right or left hand, whichever hand you grab with is fine. And I want you to roll for a moment onto your back so you can get the belt under your left foot. Stretch up the left leg, go back to the crossover to the right with your left leg. Yeah, it just continues the ritual of releasing off. Now you could let the body go a little bit side to side, but I want you to try to stay with that push of the foot. Try to stay with that turning a little bit towards the right with your hip, the right hip, and the left hip open. Okay, now bend through your left knee. Draw it in. Use your hand holding the belt to help you out. So when you bring your back completely, basically flat, you're gonna roll onto your back. And then push up with that left foot with the belt, the strap, so it's closer to the ball of the foot. and really tug with your right hand. Reach up with your left, and you might like to do this just for fun, is to cross the arms. I mean, it's just variety's sake for your shoulders, but the arms are crossed. And then I'm pulling. Really get that belt to the feeling of the bottom of the foot, so your sensation really drives through your calf. Yeah, the thigh is flushing out. It doesn't have anything else to do but flush. So just let that be. Okay, now bend through the knee and then slip off the belt and then slide both feet in and knees in. And I want you to actually move your props in a moment, but first thing is to lower your feet, step them out. Depends on your leg length on this. So I'm moving my feet a little bit in from the borders of my sticky mat and then resting my knees together. Okay? Pyramid pose. So the toes turn in, the knees rest together, relief in the hips. Okay. Feel that natural arch in the back. And then if you have the capacity to get your bolster, grab it and then move it over. Okay, left side now. And then as you feel your knees resting into each other, let your arms completely relax and bring a deeper focus into your back center. Properly move the belly with the inhale. Exhale slow. Okay, now when we switch sides, we're going to straighten the left leg down. And it doesn't have to be completely unbended right here. I want you to get a feel of it. It can have any range that you want to go. Okay, so when you cross the right leg over to the left, feel how the spine kind of crawls with your leg. It's stretching down the spine into that right side of the spine, into the right hip. The ball is nice to have at the sacrum. And then we add the same outer thigh. So get a feel of that support with the bolster first. Ample support. You might need an extra blanket on top. You know you need the extra blanket if it's you're spending energy before you get the sand ripping and contracting or it's shaking in the hip. The shaky hip, you might need more height. It just brings the floor up to you, so it allows the experience to be a little bit easier for the hip. Okay? Circulate, kind of counter spin the chest muscles open to the right. Feel that expansiveness, and then offer your circulation the opportunity to really open and roll your head to the right. Feel the ribs with the breath. Feel the right arm when it's open. And obviously the right pec muscle, the upper chest, is also getting a nice dynamic pulse of open quality. And it's okay to let the eyes rest and the body to be in a little more of a tranquil state. So a little more tranquility in this one, because it's reclining and it's a little easier than a standing pose. Your mind can rest. Okay, so give us a few more moments. Now, as we move the ball, remember all this is at your own pace. So if you need to go slower, stay with this position another minute, stay, okay? Just giving options to keep it a shifting. So what I'm gonna do is move my sand and get my belt, exchange it, okay? Now, as I reach the belt to the right foot, I'm gonna shift into my back, I'm gonna pull my knee in, and then grab onto the foot with the belt, and then kick out with that right leg over to the left, so now the right leg is straight. The hip is waking up even more. I thought I was awake, but I guess there's some other things to peel open here. Yeah, and it is like you're peeling open the connective fibers, right? Over the muscle, over the fascia, right? It's pretty grippy in the hippie. So feel that sensation, try to stay with it. The sensation will not likely, it won't go away. It's not like the pose will dissipate all feeling, but you're able to collaborate with awareness now, what's tight, and then through that acceptance, see if you can integrate other parts of the body and then kind of help it along so it's not all packed into one place where your tension is. It just starts to kind of spread out, sharing it with other parts, and then other parts can help you release. So feel the foot push into the belt, give it a few more moments. Bend the right knee. Roll onto the back so that both hands reach up to the belt. I would encourage you to cross the arms for balancing your shoulders, but not required. You can hold simply both hands grabbing a hole. You don't have to cross, but variety is good. Feel the left foot relax right now. Let the hands take over. Stretch through the right hamstring. Really get that stretch. Really get it. Now, if the tailbone is supporting you, it's good to have it. Try to lead from the tailbone. So get a feeling here where you're really, the tailbone leads you out. So that's where we're going here. We're going to slide the left foot in. We're going to pull the right leg back a little bit. And as you're yanking on it, you're going to be real kind and slide the belt aside. Okay, we're going to take a whole big transition here. So lower the right foot down, bring your knees back together to the earlier pose. We had knees together and feet are apart. So this is also called teepee pose sometimes, right? Knees together, feet apart. So in this pattern, we're going to get ready to come up. I want us to do a little series of hands, knees, standing, and work on the pelvic floor there and the hips, okay? So get a feel here. Your knees are together resting, and the hip placement is arching through the waist, right? Your hips are down, and then this kind of puffs up this rib space. So just feel that, feel the subtleties of it. It's sometimes nice to know that some things are easy to do and helpful. And they're a link to the next place. Okay. So getting to the next place means we have to transition our muscles. So try either rolling to the side, coming up to all fours, or rolling on your back to come up to your seat. So I'm going to bring the knees in, hold on, and roll up. Okay, you can roll to the side to come up to your blanket, slide it in, however you are, and then let's meet here. So we're going to meet on all fours. We're going to need our blocks in front of us to the sides of the mat, and you'll also need an established kind of anchor here through your roots into your feet. So let's try this. Let's bring our hands to reach for a block and place it between your ankles. Yeah, that's a tricky one. So when I come up and I stand on the knees on my blanket, and I'm here, I can actually feel my block. When I tilt forward, some of my muscles stop engaging. So what I want you to feel is when you're pushing into the block, and now if this is hurtful in your knees, you might, some of you might pass on a piece of this, but hopefully I've established enough base support. So you're squeezing into the block,
in. So feel where your thigh muscles, don't touch them, okay? Feel where the thigh muscles are and feel where your hips move forwards. Squeeze in. Now this front, interestingly enough, it almost feels like it's getting closed too. But you're not trying to squeeze this. That would not be very helpful. So lift up your heart and bring your hands to the small of your back. Really scoot your hands in so they're forming a shelf of support. And opening up the chest, squeeze into the block. And then help your back along like you're pushing it down with your hands. Like you're the massage therapist for yourself. You're going to slide your hands down to the small of your back, like this area is going to open. And then bring your hands to the floor. Carefully get yourself there. And hollow the belly, come into cat pose. Inhale, neutral. Exhale, cat. Inhale, neutral. This doesn't mean all the way to cow. Okay? It's a neutral spot. Exhale, cat. So it's more of the squeezing feeling, right? Inhale, neutral. Exhale, cat. And come back to table. Okay, get a feeling here when you walk your hands forwards, okay? You're going to slide front, let your hips move down and the spine into that arch. Okay. Push into your block. Okay. Get your back legs, right, moving inwards. And then when you come back to tail, reaching back, reach back with your hips towards the block, remove the block, okay? And then reach back a little farther towards child's pose. Now I want you to try to be in child's pose for a minute. So if you prefer a bolster under your forehead or under your core, between the knees, you can hug a bolster and then lower down so your chest is on the bolster and you can hug it, okay? So this is a child's pose. This is a child's pose. Bolster is under your forehead, but it's a deeper stretch in your hips. Deeper. So forehead is down. Okay, so a few more moments. If you're not using a bolster at all, you can also be in the shape with your forehead down and your hips back. Now this might be a lot for the knees, so be conscious of your needs. Spread out the hands. Help yourself up so that you really feel your forearms pull you forward. So hands are really wide, crown of the head facing front. You're not going to miss anything by looking at the screen. So you're going to come up and you're going to lift up your elbows. Unless you can't hear me, you have to see. Okay. Walk your hands in, and I want you to feel where the knees are wide. Notice the width of the knees. They're out, the feet are closer. And take a block set. Under each hand goes a block. And I like it if you can feel that span of the knees. We're going to do a similar span, but we're going to be standing on the feet. So, left knee center on the blanket, right foot steps forward, and then lift up the back knee and turn to your left with both blocks under your hands and a wide stance. Okay. See, it was pretty easy to get to that, huh? Before you know we were there. So feel where your stance is onto your mat and try to let your feet get a little stretch right now. So you might move a little forward, a little back into your heels if it's awkward and uncomfortable because we've been in a whole different range with our feet until now. I want you to feel where your legs stretch. And move your hands forward on the blocks. Move the blocks maybe down. If this is a real ride in your legs where they're shaking a lot, then of course you want your blocks higher and closer. And maybe your feet closer together. So try to keep it with your experience of reaching your head down towards the floor And stretching out through the legs, coming into an inversion now. So your head is downwards, your feet are outwards. Spine drains. Contract the tops of the thighs like you're pulling them up. Okay? And now get a feeling here, when you slide your blocks in, can you bring them in onto your mat space? So they might be on the sides of your blanket, that's fine. And I want you to bend your elbows and let them move back and feel if you can lower your head downwards. Now let's say you can lower down all the way towards the floor, but you're missing a few inches with that placement. So you could add your block and put your hands on the floor. Crown of the head to the block. You're trying to get the top of your head for the inversion on the block, okay? If you need 2 blocks, take as many as you need. And if you feel comfortable, have your feet so they're in a wide stance, toes turning in on both feet, and let your elbows bend and feel the circulation dynamic. Be here. Press and come up. Try right now, I know some of us might have our hands on the blocks continue, but try to put your hands down and turn them to face back, so the fingers face back. Give it a moment. So turn the fingers to face back, okay? So in this final path of poses, I'm trying to make it sort of interesting today, various pose patterns. But now, if the hands don't turn this way on the floor, you have blocks, right? You got blocks to come and bring the floor up. Stretch through the wrist. Okay. Now, as I slide the feet in a little closer so they're parallel, we're going to bend through the knees and then shift my spine to rounding, so it's more of a cat back. And then take your blocks and carefully, I scoot my feet in a little closer. I'm going to walk my blocks to my right front foot on my mat, so I'm turning both legs around. So the toes on the right foot face forward, back calf is stretching deeply. So thread back through the left calf. Try to keep the back heel reaching towards the floor. Now, it's okay if your back heel is up a lot, but I want you to work towards stretching the foot so it's closer to parallel than turning out very much. It still might pivot, I know we're all unique, but feel the awareness to your back lower leg. Okay. Push down through the bottom of the right foot, work with your feet here, like you're trying to stretch out the toes. And then move your blocks far, far forward so that the legs stretch, the torso is working, the back is stretching open. Just be with the position. Use your body weight to basically strengthen the bones. And so you're using your body weight. This is right in line with bone density work, right here. Using your body weight. Okay, now try with me here. You're going to move the block in on the left side so it's across from your right big toe. Isn't that your tallest toe? Okay, maybe not. Okay, so my left hand is on my block. I'm going to move my right hand up to my back, and if you get really wobbly, here's my recommendation is let the back foot pivot out, let the heel draw in, the toes move a little bit out, the back leg, that's okay. But I want you to try to suck up the energy on the inside of this right thigh, all the way up the inside of the leg, up to the groin, all the way up to the pelvic floor, and then turn to your right. Try to get that right hip to move back, turn to the right. If you get slippy slidey, keep situating yourself and work through it. This is our final intensity right now. So just go with the flow. Try to stay with the energy here. Breathe.
Okay, now if your right shoulder rolls down, I want you to stretch the right hand to the block and then position yourself here, comfortably so. You're gonna step the left foot forward besides the right and just come into a standing forward bend. Feel the feet press down, okay? Lower your waist down and maybe hold and clutch onto the back of your legs. Feel the spine elongate without tugging too much. Feel the weight of the body stretch the back. Okay, now switch the leg side. One more side. Right leg steps back. Yeah, keep it simple. So we have the right calf working. It's a different, probably sensation pattern in the second leg. And if it's really deep and thicker band of tension, you might take your stance a little bit wider and it could be easier to let go. So we don't want it too wound up. So feel that you're pushing into the legs, but you're also stretching out of your waist forwards. So give yourself a ton of wiggle room on this, where you get some support from my ideas, but you might have some other patterns that you need to work through to let go. Maybe you have a wider stance, maybe the back foot is completely parallel. Stay with it for one more cycle of motion. We're almost there. Okay, we're going to bring the block in to the inside of that, across from the left big toe. How far across? Well, wherever your right hand lands down from your shoulder is a good spot. Okay. Now I know from my history that my back foot's turned out a little bit, it's helpful for me to twist. So I'm going to bring my left hand up to my sacrum zone, and then I'm going to turn to the left. Yeah, hi. So feel where the waist rotates. Feel where the circulation moves up into the hip joint, the left hip joint. Factor in breathing. Okay, feeling. Yeah, try to stay with that energy of twist. Now, when you come out, I want you to try to get the waist to reach forward. Now, you could use your left arm to swing around and help you, but really try to reach out the waist. It's such a small rotation, but it's deep. Okay. Now we're going to step back. So I want you to lower your hands to the floor and then step the left foot back, come down to the hands and knees, and then move your knees out wide again, and bring your hands forward and head down. Okay. Give it a few moments here before we go legs up the wall. Stretch the rear, like you're stretching your buttocks a little bit. Your knees are out, your hips are back. You can wiggle your hips, feel what's actually moving into your hips. When you come back and you start to move your way towards your wall inversion, what I want you to do is to supplement that, all your props. I want you to make sure that you have plenty of support. So come on up, get a bolster and place it at the base of a wall. So I want you to be able to feel that lift of the pelvis. Okay, so I've got my bolster up at the edge, and I have a blanket for my brain. And what we'll do when we roll up and we let the legs basically swing up the wall is we want to sit. So I'm going to do legs up today without a sandbag. I think that would be better. Sometimes you try it without. If you love sandbags and you can't live without them, what you might do is put the sand on your ribs and not your feet sometimes. So you could try that for your diaphragmatic kind of bandwidth. Okay. So I'm going to sit on one side of the bolster. You can also kind of really get grounded, like you're trying to listen to the floor, and help yourself up that way. That can be sometimes kind of nice. So you're gonna get really low, and then when you roll onto your back and swing the legs up, tuck in your blanket under your head and feel where your hips are in proximity to the bolster. Right, so I have two worlds. I have the wall supporting my legs, and to be honest, right now it's just supporting my heels. My thighs aren't completely there. So what you could do is wiggle around. You can also have space between the bolster and your wall, so your rear kind of slides in. And then position either your sand across the ribs or to your feet. If you're not going to have sand on your feet, you can do an assortment of movements with your legs, right? You can move your feet out, you can move your feet together. So there's some nice patterns you can do without the sand. Position the sand if it's on the core, either on the belly or on the lower ribs, and then lower your arms and relax. Closing eyes, eye pillows on, or a little towel if you like, so there's a curtain of darkness to the brain's relaxation patterns. If you have glasses on, you might want to remove those for a few moments and get a feeling here where the spine is centering back in towards the neck and where the shoulders are resting, open the chest, shoulder weight down. Let the belly move with the operating breath. And simply return the body all the way back in towards balance. Find what's possible from practice to center your mind and your body. Deep, deep breath. Exhale completely. Now, if you have sand on your feet, you're going to want to get rid of that sand, slide it off, and move your feet apart at the wall, up the wall, and this may be an easier dynamic for your spine and your hamstrings as well. So let the legs go out, and they don't have to go, well, it depends on your wall space you're on, isn't it? They may not go very far. But feel the back of the pelvis. Feel the legs moving out, moving out, moving out. Now go from the legs externally rotated, 2 feet together. Play with that. If you don't have a lot of wall space, you can still play with the action of the legs out and then moving feet together, knees still out. Hands on legs, push to the wall. Push. Stretch the groins. And now as you slide your hands across the kneecaps, move any sand off of your waist. And then give a few moments here with the knees drawing in towards your chest. Hug them in. And then roll to your side. Pause for a moment. And then come up. It's a slow direction to get up with the blood pressure lower. So take a seat
Feel the back, maybe you're at the wall, maybe you're seated just in front of the wall, whatever is most comfortable for your spine uprightness, but feel where the shoulders are downwards, feel where the neck is moving inwards, and tilt your head over towards your right. Head tilts to the right, let that left side of the neck stretch. Now come back and center and let your head tilt toward the left. Feel the right side of the neck stretching. If it's really intense in the fibers of the neck, just simply notice. And let's go one more each side, just one more each side. Tilt your head over towards the right. Feel that left arm really heavy to stretch the neck in balance. And then come back center and keep it in motion. One more final peeling open through the neck. And then from that side tilt over towards your left, you're going to lower your chin down gently. Feel the brain gently stretch down towards the heart center and rise up the hands to the heart center. Palms have a direction of pressure. Try to pressurize the hands so it's a pose, right? There's elbows moving out, there's a stretch in the wrists from the palms and the heels of the hands together. And let's unite our breath in a complete inward focus to receive wellness. Inhale slow. And exhale, bowing into the space behind you. Namaste. Okay. All right.